Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your Energy and Ascension forecast for Sunday, November 26th to Saturday, December 2nd. Okay, so last week we dove into the week under the intense pressure of that first quarter moon taking place in Aquarius energy. That took place on the 20th. So of course that was a critical crisis point. It opened up our minds. There was a little bit of a spiritual awakening that took place in the collective around that particular point as well. As that Aquarian energy ruled over by Uranus is a shock, is an aha moment, is an epiphany. And it put us in a situation where we were having some bright ideas, some new realizations that, of course, pushed us into a situation where we had to make a choice. We had to make a decision. We had to position ourselves to take action. But of course, wasn't really time to do that. We moved out of Scorpio season into Sagittarius season. And of course, that popped off on the 22nd. That was a major transition, especially seeing how Scorpio season was the major change, the major transformation, the major pivot point that we've all been building towards launching this new version of self. We unearthed some truths. We discovered hidden layers, different parts of ourselves. We unearthed new passions, new desires that aren't as clear as we would prefer them to be at this point. But then diving into this Sag energy, a fire sign, we're definitely feeling a different vibe. There's a little bit more optimism, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more hope on the horizon, but we're not technically settled into the peak energies of Sag season as of yet, because here today on the 24th, as I come to you live here Friday evening, first of all, thank you for being in the chat. Secondly, we have Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires. He just moved out of his rulership in that Scorpio energy. Of course, he just had his rebirth on the 18th. I shared a birthday with Mr. Mars here this year. He had his conjunction with the sun. It opened up for a brand new 2-year cycle. And here today, he's shifting out of that water energy. He's shifting into Sagittarius energy. So it's a fire energy. He loves to be in fire energy. We're definitely going to be taking action and making some moves on some big ideas, on some new truths, on some new missions, some new directions. We're in exploratory mode. We're definitely willing to push the boundaries of our comfort zone, and we are definitely going to see a different mood, a different attitude take over now that Mars is settling into Sagittarius energy. And of course, we were building towards the full moon in Gemini. That, of course, is going to be taking place on the 27th. So we are very much in this particular realm where we're building towards this very potent energy. This is what's going to be setting the tone for this week and setting the tone for closing out the particular life lessons that November was supposed to teach us as we enter into December. Now, if you're confused, if you're lacking clarity, if you feel the push and pull between two very extreme different choices, different paths, different decisions, then congratulations, you're exactly where it is that you need to be. The full moon in Gemini is going to bring in new information, new details. It's going to illuminate a different perspective. It is going to shine a bright light on a more favorable option, choice, path, decision, mission, purpose, project than the other. So we are building towards this illuminating effect where we're very, very much going to feel the mental pressure. We're going to feel the swirling, of course, of all of the different disorganized thoughts that we're currently bouncing around within us. And then that full moon in Gemini is going to act as a pivot point. Again, there is a lot going on at this particular point, this particular chapter. Just to give you a heads up, the time frame between the new moon in Scorpio that we just had, November 13th, up until the 21st of December, which is the solstice, This is a time of fast forward experimentation, mostly because we introduced the new version of self back under the new moon in Scorpio. We had a change of heart, we had a change of mind, we had a change of self. And from that particular point up until the solstice point, we're experimenting with this new version of self, with these new ideas, with this new path, direction, choice point, decision point, whichever way you want to look at it. We're processing the highs, the lows, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And then we're going to be anchoring that particular vibration, that signature frequency, if you will, of the version of self that we're going to be working with in this next karmic chapter, of the ideas, the choices, the decisions that we are going to be pursuing in this next karmic chapter. We're going to be anchoring that in under the solstice energy. So this is a time, especially in Sag season, where everything goes fast. It feels like the universe hits the fast forward button. Everything's a little bit crazy, disorganized, a little bit chaotic. We're going to have a lot of wild card events thrown at us in this particular window of time. And this is just going to help us kind of align with the vibration, the frequency, the level of awareness, the level of consciousness, and of course, the soul contracts, the timelines, the version of self that we are currently exploring with. So again, coming into this week, we're kicking things off with the full moon in Gemini. Then we're going to close out November. Then we're going to be jumping into December. And taking place on December 1st, we are going to see Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we express ourselves, move out of this Sagittarius energy that has us all very much in ADHD squirrel brain type of energy. We're going to be moving into Capricorn energy, which is definitely going to anchor us in, ground us out, bring us back into the present moment, put the blinders on, take some of the big ideas, the big choice points, the big decision points that we've been wrecking our brains over while Mercury has been in Sagittarius energy, and especially with the insights, the illuminations coming at us with the full moon in Gemini. We're going to have a lot of big thoughts, big ideas bouncing around in our head. Mercury moving into Capricorn energy is going to put the blinders on so that we can add some logic and practicality to these big visions, these big goals, these big dreams, and actually apply a structure, a path, a plan, a strategy on how it is that we're going to move forward. But heads up, and not that I want to get too ahead of myself here, but we have to pay very close attention to what's going on in our worlds, where our mind is, where our energy and attention is being asked for around this December 1st point, because we are going to see Mercury go retrograde here very shortly in December. And a lot of the topics and themes, a lot of the conversations, a lot of the goals, visions, and dreams that we're going to be percolating on, those are the things that we're going to have to revisit, revise, re-edit, restructure, redesign while Mercury is retrograde. Also, this is the last full week that Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, will be in her rulership in Libran energy. She is going to be diving into Scorpio energy very early on in December. We have a lot of major energy coming at us in December. And of course, you can expect the monthly zodiac forecast to be launched here this week. You can expect the December energy forecast to be popping off and launched this week. There's a lot going on. So with that being said, let me address a couple of things on my homework list, and then we're going to dive into the Ascension symptoms that are likely going to pop off under the energy influences of this week. First of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for subscribing. I want to thank you for dropping the emojis in the comment section as well. Not only does it make it a very beautiful page to scroll through, but it also helps me in the algorithm. I want to take this second to rant just a second. I want to talk about last week for a second. Now, many of you may know that my birthday was November 18th. And of course, that was a Saturday. And of course, the day before, Friday, I was really looking forward to, chilling with my homies, really chatting it out, having a little bit of a birthday eve party with my soul fam here in the live chat. And I gotta tell you, that last day right before my solar return, Friday, November 17th, was the most challenging day that I've had in a very long time. And I want to talk about this, and I want to explain to you how I'm going to say, solar return energy works, because the very last day prior to your birthday, when you do get that solar return energy, the solar codes from the sun, when you're renewed and revitalized and rebirthed, so to speak, resurrected, so to speak, the last day, the last hours before you actually receive those solar codes are the absolute darkest parts of the year, of your existence, of your being. It was a very, very tough day. And for those of you that normally join me in the chat, you would know that I didn't get to have a live chat at all last week. Why? Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I know a lot more now than I did that day. YouTube decided to change their algorithm once again. They have made it so that creators have, I'm going to say, less option on where it is that YouTube sticks the ads in our content. And because of this, they rolled out different placements, different product placements, different rollouts, all this kind of crap that honestly, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to because I don't have control over it. And they decided to roll that out last Friday, which meant that, and I'll give you a little bit of a background here, I record these sessions early Friday morning. I make the video, render the video, I upload the video. They do all their checks because, of course, they want to make sure that I'm not talking about any of the things that they don't want me to talk about. But normally speaking, the process, once I'm uploading it to YouTube, it may take maybe 20, 30 minutes for the video to upload, for YouTube to do its checks, for them to basically give me permission to publish it or to at least set the settings for the premiere that allows me to be in the live chat with my viewers. Well, when I did all of the normal things that I normally do this time last week, YouTube held my video for 5.5 hours to do all of their checks to make sure that I wasn't talking about any of the things that I'm not supposed to be talking about. So obviously, I started this very early on in the day. My 8:30 premiere launch date was coming super quickly, and they still didn't give me permission to publish my video. So I'm sure if you were kind of following along, you've seen my desperate posts of showing you guys proof that I wasn't trying to cop out. I wanted to be in that live chat. I was looking forward to really bringing in my new year with the greatest bunch of people that this community has really risen into. And I really wanted that as my, send off to my last year, or the last natal year that I'm closing the door on. And I really wanted that to be my launching point. I always feel good in our live chats. I love connecting with you guys, and I didn't get to do that. So I'm sure you've seen the posts. It was like 11:30 my time, I think, when they finally gave me permission to launch the video. I tried to add it as a premiere. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to stay awake long enough to be in the live chat. Anyways, they didn't even give me the option to be part of the live chat. The only way that I could publish the video was just standard publish, not be a part of it. So honestly, I was so defeated, and I knew that the whole kind of quest, especially prior to your solar return energy, is to make you lose your shit. Those dark force energies come in and they break you down, and your mind goes to horrible places and your vibration just plummets. And that's not the vibration and frequency I wanted to be in order to usher in my new year. So I really struggled to stay as open-minded, as positive, as optimistic as I could possibly be, when realistically speaking, I was defeated. I was angry. I was heartbroken. I was disappointed. I hate letting people down. I hate just not being able to deliver what it is that I've gotten in a routine of delivering when I'm supposed to be delivering it. But of course, all you amazing beings gave me such great support, so much love, so much support, and just saying, you know what, Mar, take the night off. have the whole weekend, right? That's not what I was planning on doing, not what I wanted to do, but that's what ended up happening nonetheless. So for those of you that sat around waiting for YouTube to launch that particular live chat last week, I thank you so much for your love, support, and devotion. And I am so sorry that it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out, but I seen very clearly the attempt from the dark force energies to keep me down, to keep me in a state of low vibrational frequencies in order to not launch and leap once I've received those solar codes. So of course I got up the next morning, and as I approached my actual birth time, because, I'm an astrologer. If it's not the exact time in which I came into this world, then it's not my birthday yet. So I spent the bulk of that morning really doing a lot of energy work to get myself, my spirits up, to really just be in a good place to receive those solar codes. And then I got the absolute energetic shit knocked out of me. I don't know if it was because it was my solar return. I don't know if it's because Mars was kind of getting reborn as well, but the energy did not jive, did not jam with me very, very good on my birthday. Even the next day, I was having a hard time functioning, hard time moving. Energetically speaking, I felt awful. And to be quite honest with you, I have felt all week like I've been battling some kind of virus, some kind of disease, although I know I'm not. I know it's energetic in nature, but it really feels like something's trying to make me sick. And it's there enough for me to know that I don't feel good, but it's not strong enough for me to actually declare what is wrong with me and what I'm actually sick with. So for those of you just kind of saying that you're hoping that I'm feeling better now that my solar return happened, I'm not quite there yet. I will be honest in saying that I'm just not quite there yet. Don't know what's going on. I am blaming the energies. I am blaming the whole, rebirth, resurrection, solar code thing. And I know we've had a lot of energy here this week, but I am slowly but surely trying to get myself out of this dark pit, this funk that I've been in as I approach my birthday. Now, I know that I'm not the only one experiencing this, and we are going to talk about it very much in detail when I get into the Ascension symptoms for this week, but I just wanted to bring forth the amount of love, the amount of appreciation that I have for each and every single one of you as you watched me absolutely just struggle here last week. So back to the homework issue. I know that was a little bit of a mini rant, but I just wanted to thank you for that. I wanted to thank you for the ongoing love, support, the birthday wishes. Y'all just made me feel so special. I love you all so much for that. And I am deeply, deeply apologetic that it didn't work out the way that I wanted to this time last week. So a couple of other things on my list before I jump into the Ascension symptoms. Of course, we have a full moon in Gemini coming up, so you can expect another moon guide to be available for download. It's likely going to be available, I'm thinking probably Saturday, if not, then Sunday morning. Again, another reason for that is because there's so many eager beavers that like to jump into these moon guides prior to us even being in the full moon window, let alone the moon being in the energy in which the moon guides are written for. So I hesitate to put them out too early because, again, you're not even in the mind frame or the emotional state that these particular guides require you to be in order to actually align with the vibration, the frequencies of this actual moon event. So those moon guides will be available towards the end of this weekend. So I already kind of mentioned this, but yeah, we're going to be shifting into a totally different month this week, which means that I'm going to be very, very busy and trying to get those zodiac forecasts together for you. There is going to be a December energy forecast as well, but for those of you that like to listen to your zodiac forecast just to have a better understanding on where some of these astro events, these energy shifts are going to affect you the most, those will be available towards the end of the week. Of course, you can get them one by one from my website, or you can jump over to Patreon, subscribe to a tier, and receive all 12. And for those of us that follow our big three, that is definitely the best of recommendations. Okay, so I have another thing that I want to bring to your attention that I want to talk about. And that is the fact that, okay, yes, I know, Black Friday, yada, 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 yada. I don't really subscribe to all of that. Now, you know that I am not really down with, fitting into the matrix and the whole capitalistic ploy of Black Friday and all this kind of stuff. However, I did want to at least promote, and I don't think this is a Black Friday thing, but I want to give people a little bit of time. And so I did launch gift cards. Now, here's the thing. You may or may not know, I don't know, but I have no available appointments for booking sessions until the new year. And I'm very hesitant because I am restructuring my services. I am restructuring what I offer. And because of that, I am going to be raising my prices for my services in the new year. So what I've done is I've launched these gift cards based off of my current prices as of right now, that of course will be going up in 2024. So for those of you that know that you book my services throughout the year, this would be a great time to get a gift card at the old prices that will at least assure that, when you want to book my services in 2024, that you're at least getting the old prices. There is another perk to this because for the newbies out there that, have never had a session for me, it's going to be a little bit harder for y'all to book a session with me in 2024. Not only are the prices going up, but if you are not an existing client, there is going to be a wait list for you to kind of sit on as well. So if you are interested and know that that's something that you wanted to do in 2024 is to book a session with me, become a client, purchasing a gift card at the old prices right now will ensure that you don't have to pay the higher price and you don't have to sit on a waiting list. Those appointments will be available to you. You can redeem your gift card at the old prices, become a client, and then of course you're going to have a lot more services available to you once you become a client. So again, you can find all of that on my website, and I am going to keep these gift cards up, open and available until December 12th. So again, if you know that you want to book a session with me, great time to do it. If you want to give the gift of guidance to somebody else, that would also be a great opportunity for you to lock that in. And for anyone thinking that they want to become a new client, save yourself some money, save yourself some wait time, get yourself a gift card, set yourself up for success in 2024. So thank you so much to everybody who has been inquiring about booking appointments with me already in the new year. We're going to kind of see how this gift card thing kind of unfolds. And then December 12th, I'm going to shut those down, going to be revamping my website, my scheduling process, the services that I offer. And then we're just going to see how that's going to unfold moving into the new year. So that is the last thing that I wanted to kind of promote and plug. And I thank you so much for sitting through that. And now we're going to talk about the Ascension symptoms for this week. Okay, so as I previously mentioned, I don't think I'm the only one that feels like they're fighting something. Now, we do have a lot of very intense energies popping off. I don't know if people understand how very important that Mars conjunction with the sun was. Like, Mars doesn't mess around. Mars rules over our physical energy, our passion, our desire, even our anger. It's literally how we move ourselves throughout this world. And yes, he was in his rulership in Scorpio energy, which means that this next 2-year cycle is definitely going to be one of spiritual and emotional motivation, determination, perseverance. We're definitely on a brand new warrior/hero's journey with his resurrection by the sun. But that was a major ripple in our, let's call it, energetic being and in the collective. And I honestly believe that that has a major impact on how a lot of people are feeling at this particular point in time, because again, that reverberation has to kind of echo through our physical form, through our emotional form, mental form, spiritual form, and then our energetic astral body as well. So because we're in this very unique time period, this window of opportunity for us to be really testing the boundaries of this new version of self and really exploring new ideas, new passions, new desires, we really are feeling kind of all over the place and kind of detached in a way from different parts of ourselves. Everything is very foreign. And for the most part, I would say that the water energy that we just shifted out of, many of us are feeling waterlogged. And I feel like this is why many of us feel like we're fighting something. You know, there's congestion in the lungs. There's phlegm coming out of nowheres. No, like nose just running like a leaky faucet at this point. But I don't feel like sick. I just feel like, where is all this extra fluid coming from? Of course, many of us are bloated, holding onto that water weight, very, very waterlogged from Scorpio season. We're now in a fire energy, but it is going to take us a little bit of time to dry off, to actually feel that the fire energy is kind of the most dominant element at this particular point in time. And so there's been a lot of weird physical things kind of popping up, popping off. And I suspect as we kind of move through this week, not only because there's a full moon for us to really feel that, I'm going to say, over-exaggerated, pressurized intensity in our physical form, especially where our headspace is concerned. But there's an illumination, if you will, shining very brightly on what it is that we're letting go of as far as old versions of self, old ideas, old goals, old visions, old dreams, old choices, old decisions. For those of you that have been in this back and forth with, I don't know what I should do, I don't know which way I should go, I don't know which thing I should choose, that illumination, that pressurized system coming in from the full moon in Gemini is also going to bring the congestion up to the surface in order for us to now take a very big breath of fresh air. Again, Gemini energy, air energy. Yes, we're in a fire season still kind of melting away, if you will, trying to evaporate a lot of that emotion, a lot of that congestion, a lot of that phlegm. By the time that the full moon, which again, you know, the pull that a full moon has over the water, the fluid, not only in our oceans, but within our physical body, this is going to bring things to a head as well. So I feel like, you know, the congestion is likely going to continue. The phlegm definitely going to be continuing to come out of the nose faucet and to be coughed up, so to speak. And feeling bloated, feeling like everything is puffy is likely going to reach a peak precipice around that full moon. And then we're going to see those particular symptoms start to dissipate. But considering the fact that the moon in Gemini is an air sign and has a direct impact on our headspace, there's likely going to be a lot of head colds, a lot of allergies, a lot of, I'm going to say, feeling like there's water in your ear. There's going to be rapid thoughts. Of course, Mercury, who rules over this full moon in Gemini, is still very much in Sag energy. This is why we have like ADHD, squirrel brain. There's a lot of things popping into our head, a lot of processing, but yet nothing is clear. Again, we're just bouncing all over the place. But the headspace is definitely going to feel the congestion, going to feel the pressure, going to feel the rapid processing of the highs, the lows, the pros, the cons, the everything in between. But even more than that, the pressure from inside our head, again, the pressure on our ears, it may feel like you have an earache. I don't think it's going to be ringing as in the typical downloads that we're normally receiving, as much as it is going to feel pressurized, like if you're in a plane or, you know, when you are in water and the pressure of the water kind of hitting your eardrum, it's that kind of sensation. We may hear things in a muffled tone. It's just not going to feel like a pleasant experience. And of course, everything gets pressurized. It comes to that peak precipice, that breakthrough, if you will, and then we are going to see some of these energies dissipate after the full moon in Gemini. But the eyes, I want to talk about the eyes for a second. So we've been experiencing some fluctuations with our eyes, especially with the vision, the dream that we're trying to conjure up, and the present moment, the here and now. Many of us having a hard time seeing and accepting what we're currently looking at, what we're currently observing. Now, that being said, we are in experimentation mode. There's a lot of changes, a reminder, we're in a mutable season. Mutable seasons are a time to kind of challenge the status quo, to challenge the old ways of doing things, to really kind of push the boundaries of what it is that we have been doing, to see where it is that we could be adopting new methods, new ways of operating, new paths, directions, missions, and purposes that we actually want to dive into. Sagittarius season is a great time for learning. And so whatever it is that we're currently learning, there is a lot of excitement. There's I'm going to say, real pressurized system for us to just learn as much as we could possibly learn. That's why, like right now, as I come to you here Friday, November 24th, we're in a state of confusion. We're lacking the details, the clarity that we want. We still need to be illuminated to some pieces of the puzzle that we don't even know that we're missing at that point. And of course, that's going to be popped off and delivered to us with that full moon in Gemini. But the eyes are still shifting. The eyes are still adapting. There's a lot of sleepies that seem to stick in our eyes like all day. There's a lot of gunk in it. I think that the pressure coming from our third eye, the pressure in our head, the congestion is definitely adding to this, I'm going to say, blurry vision that many of us are experiencing. And again, it's almost like you have to blink a couple of times and really clear your eyes out from the blurriness in order to actually focus on some of the things that are very much in our present moment in our faces. But because we're still lacking clarity, we're not seeing clearly. There is a gunkiness, a fog, a film. Maybe it's a sleepy, maybe it's an eyelash, maybe it's just the illusion that something's in our eye when there's nothing really to get out of our eyes, but our vision is essentially changing. Now, because we're kind of like squirrel brained and we're looking over here and then we're looking over there and then we're looking things up and then we're learning about this, but in the process of learning that, something else piques our interest, so we jump over to that. We are not focused. That's the hardest part in Sag season, is that we cannot seem to focus. And so we see that manifest in our actual vision, where we're having a hard time actually focusing in on the physical things right in front of our faces. It feels like there is something in our eye blocking us from truly seeing clearly. Talking about clearly, we want clarity, right? We want information, we want details. There's this urgency that we're experiencing in order to just figure it out, to have all of our questions answered, to have all the information and details down to a T. We want to just decide, but of course we're not at a particular point in time to do that. We will be here very shortly, but because of that, we're having an increased level of thirst, okay? When we thirst for knowledge, or we thirst for clarity, or we thirst for mission, for truth, for purpose, that kind of correlates into us actually being thirsty. Now, we're in a fire season. Fire seasons, again, tend to dehydrate us. So it is advisable that we're keeping up on our fluids. We want to continuously make sure that we're hydrated because, again, this fire energy has a tendency to burn through our energy, our emotions, and in our physical bodies. Our metabolism is actually working harder in a fire season than any other element. So that thirsty sensation, we're never going to be able to quench that. You can try, and you should, but as far as us considering the fact that we have a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for answers, a thirst for clarity, until we have all the answers, until we have that clarity, we are likely going to experience the actual physical body really being really thirsty. Now, again, hunger is always a fluctuating ascension symptom. I feel as if in Sag season, people are just so overstimulated that you may even forget to eat. Now, that sounds a little bit, funny to some people who just literally live to eat, but our eating habits and behaviors are off. Our cravings are off. Now, I think we're going to come out of the nausea that I think many of us have been feeling, even trying to contemplate what to eat. I think that's going to come out of the realm of choppiness. Again, a lot of the reason of that is because we are in a water season. Think of, being seasick, if you will, the waves up and down and up and down. Well, who the hell wants to eat in that state of mind, right? That state of being. So now that we're in a fire energy, and again, our metabolism is picking up this recalibration, this realignment that we just kind of went through, this rebirth that we just went through. We're hungry little babies now. We're screaming, we're crying for substance, okay? both in our food and in the content, the information, the details, the truth, the mission, the purpose that we're currently trying to gather a different perspective on. But the hunger pains are going to be intense, especially if you do forget to eat, or you are manipulating the times in which you eat, or you are totally changing the food in which you eat. The hunger sensation is actually changing. The amount of food that you need to eat is also changing. And there's definitely going to be a major shift, especially around this full moon, but mostly when we are kind of nearing the end of the week and we're moving into December's energy. I would say that that is when many of us are going to just be surprised with how it is that our eating habits are changing, the way that we are experiencing those hunger pains or the sensation of fullness after we eat. Those particular sensations are changing. So please pay attention to that, because we're in a new rhythm. We have a new version of self. Our body requires different things from us now than what it is that we were previously used to. So with this fire energy, yes, like I mentioned, it's still very slow going, that we're still kind of drying off from the water season that we were in. But pay attention to your skin. So dry skin is definitely going to be a thing. Dry, burning lips, not having enough moisture in your eyes, having, your nose holes be sore, flakiness. You can put on all of the moisturizer that you want, and it's just seeming that your skin is just sucking everything up, sucking everything in, but it doesn't feel like it's retaining moisture. That's very much a lot to do with the fire season that we're in. And fun fact, in the moon guides that I launch, we talk about the elemental energy profiles of all the different moons and the different moon events. And if you've been following along for any amount of time, you would know especially that 2023 has been mostly dominant in earth energies. And water energy has been a close second, but basically that's because our physical realm is changing, and our inner realm, where our emotions and spirituality, the version of ourselves, the life force expression, has been changing, and therefore the physical realm needs to change due to the changes taking place in our being. The full moon in Gemini, this is the first time, and I want to say that has happened thus far this year, that we're actually going to be dominant in fire energy. That is a very interesting contrast to where it is that we've been having these lunar events. And so, with fire on fire, we just have to understand that it has a major effect on our physical bodies. And in this particular point, we are going to go from one extreme, which was holding onto that water weight, being highly emotional, feeling puffed up and bloated out, to the absolute opposite extreme, which is we're thirsty, we got dry skin, we feel like we're burning up inside, we're running hot on all levels. So pay attention to that. Do what you can to kind of add the water element back into your body, back into your environment. Do what you can to stay hydrated, to stay moisturized, because we're definitely going to be on the dry side of life. The interesting part, though, is that even though we're running hot, even though we're typically speaking on the drier side of things, we're going to have sweaty palms, sweaty feet, and may I also just say, for some of us, sweaty swamp ass. Now, why do I want to talk about that, you may ask? Well, I don't, because humans are gross. But what I will say is because the lower back, the butt, the tailbone, that's the root chakra that connects us to the physical body, to the physical earth. That is our egoic programming, if you will, our survival system. And because we are this new version of self, because we're experimenting with this new version of self, with the new timelines, with new soul contracts that come along with this elevated awareness, this elevated level of consciousness that we just found ourselves in, there is a little bit of a, let's call it, inner conflict, inner war of the recalibration of our energy centers, our chakra centers. And so, we've been talking about how we're moving into this new karmic chapter that requires us to stand in our creator energy. And of course, creator energy means that our palm chakras need to be wide open and activated. And we've been working on this for months and months and months and months now. right? This is why we've been having injuries with our hands. This is why, cramping in the upper extremities, because the energy is trying to activate our palm chakras. So right hand projects outwards, left hand receives energy inwards. We're still trying to get our palm chakras open and in alignment and activated and working. And therefore, even though we're running hot and we're running dry, there is going to be this clamminess, this sweatiness on our palms because of the energy trying to get the palm chakras open and activated. Equally, we're going to feel, sweaty, clammy feet. And that's because the energy connection that our feet make with the earth and the reciprocal energy that we're taking in from the earth, allowing to channel through our physical bodies, go out into the cosmos, and equally taking information and energy in from the cosmos, channeling it through our physical body, putting it back into the earth, the vibrations and frequencies have changed. And so there's a little bit of a cooling effect as there is a heating effect. And what do you get? You get condensation. And how does that manifest in the physical body? Clamminess and sweatiness in our feet, in our hands, and in our butts because of that root chakra trying to recalibrate, purging out the old survival codes and really kind of anchoring in this new version of self. There are points in our physical body where that recalibration, that realignment with some of those chakras, they're just not, how would I say, unifying, merging as easily as they would like. And again, a lot of this division is due to the fact that we're still experimenting with the version of self that we're trying to anchor in, that we will fully anchor in, regardless of which version we pick, under the solstice energy. And again, the full moon in Gemini really, really illuminating the divide. There's a part of us that wants to kind of stick with what it is that we've been doing. There's a lot of resistance to change. There is an awareness that things are changing, but the fear factor comes in and suppresses that vibration down into the lower vibrations and frequencies, which has us kind of in a state of paralysis, anchored into the old timelines, the old soul contract. The new trying very hard to override that old system. And this is where we're getting the tension, the conflict in our bodies. And this is where we're getting basically like sweaty spots in our chakra systems due to those particular conflicting energies trying to merge together, unify, recalibrate to set us up to be a wholeness, a whole power, a whole operating system. So there is this, like I said, sweaty, clammy hands, feet, and most of us lower chakras, which means swamp ass. Okay, so we can have these cool flashes as well. Keep in mind that most of us are running hot. And that can change with the energetic frequencies that we enter into. But for most dominantly, we're going to be running hot. We're going to be feeling warm. There are going to be instances where it is going to feel like a cold winter breeze just comes out of nowheres and just puts our body in a wave of goosebumps and makes us kind of shiver. And then we're going to go and we're going to put more clothes on just to have a hot flash. And I'm not just talking for those of us in, menopausal territory. I'm talking all of us. Energy is temperature fluctuations. That's one way that you can really pick up on the energy that is in your environment, the energy that you're currently transmuting through your body. Again, when we have, let's call them special visitors of other energetic entities enter into our space, we have that indication by a shift in the air, a shift in the temperature, a shift in the overall state of feeling, state of being. So we are going to have bouts of this cool energy take over, this goosebumps take over, but for the most part, we will be definitely running hot. Now, the itchiness, indicates good healing, good vibes, good evolution, good growth. For the most part, I feel like the itchiness is coming from our head, from our hair, from inside our head in spots that we just can't reach to itch. A lot of this is because the crown is adjusting. So we're kind of experiencing the energy and temperature fluctuations in the information that we're putting out to the world and that we're receiving to the world. But also this new version of self means that our antenna, which is our hair, that's how we pick up on the electromagnetic frequencies of our environment, our antennas are shifting. It's almost like when the antenna of your radio has been picking up a channel for, its entire existence, then all of a sudden it starts getting staticky and you have to move the antenna in order to find the right vibration, the right frequency in order to bring that radio station into clarity. There is no difference between us and a radio at this particular point. Our hair is the antenna. We've gone through an upgrade. We've gone through a shift of some sort. We don't know if we're anchoring it in or not. That depends on how it is that you're kind of processing your inner realm at this point. But what we know is that we're not in alignment with the same vibration and frequency that we once were. We're not picking up on the radio station that we once were. We have to make some adjustments. And so this is a point in time, especially where Venus, of course, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, she's in her rulership in Libran energy. This is why most people are changing their image at this point, cutting their hair, coloring their hair, doing something with their hair. Yes, it may be this overall, let's call it exterior renovation or upgrade, because of course, Venus and Libra just wants to have a great glow up, look good, feel good, that whole, self-love, self-worth thing. That's great. But even more than that, we just changed radio signals. We just changed radio frequencies. And now our hair is kind of putting feelers out to see where it is that the best placement for us is in the world in order to connect to the higher realms of intelligence. So the itchiness in our head, in our hair, definitely due to us trying to tap into a new vibration, new frequency channel. So with Venus in this Libran energy, we've kind of reached the halfway point of her transit, and she's creating a lot of heart activations, but they've been very subtle, if I do say so myself. Now, yes, the coughing up of the phlegm, that is a heart activation. We're clearing out old heartfelt emotions. But even more than that, maybe you're more aware of your heartbeat. Maybe you can hear your heartbeat in your head or feel it in your lips or whatever the case may be. Maybe your heart is skipping a beat. Maybe your heart is more rapid than normal. These are all heart activations in order to align that particular heart chakra into this new vibration, this new signature frequency that the new version of self is trying to anchor into. So whether you have a cough or you have these butterfly feelings in your chest, all of that is very much a heart activation. That's very much Venus moving through her rulership, trying to kind of bring forth this new emotional cycle that, of course, she's very interested in and eager to dive into. So besides that, like I kind of mentioned, we're in this very important window of change, of transformation, of discovery, of exploration. And because of that, it feels like everything is kind of on fast forward. And so with that comes a lot of confusion, comes with a lot of euphoria. It comes with a lot of missing the smaller things in life. And again, Sag season is about the big picture. So we do have a tendency to kind of gloss over the smaller details that make up the greater, grander whole. I want you to pay attention to time though, because of course we're in this very interesting acceleration of time. We're trying to decide what timelines we are looking to anchor in. And there's been, especially I'm going to say more so when we were in Libra season, when we entered into that equinox energy, it was very evident. There were some days that time just flew by. There were other days where it just stood still. And this week over on my Patreon with one of my rants that I did, we talked about how, first of all, what vibrations and frequencies actually are. Like when we're using these words, what does that actually mean? And the correlation to the actual emotion and where it is that they vibrate on the light spectrum, on the frequency vibration spectrum. And we kind of talked about how the lower emotions, such as, fear, sadness, depression, they are very low and spread out type of frequencies. And we have the tendency when we're in that state of feeling or state of mind that time goes very slow, doesn't feel like time is moving at all. And in contrast to that, when we're having a great time, when we're excited, when we're in our groove, when we're just doing the things that we love, time goes by so fast. And that's why they always say, time goes by when you're having fun. Well, this is very much one of those times where we're going to see the warpedness of the time matrix that we are currently collapsing and building at the same time. And a lot of this has to do with the new version of self, has a lot to do with the timelines that we're currently experimenting with the soul contracts that we're currently dabbling in. And we are going to see time go very, very fast. That's a good indicator that whatever it is that you're doing when time is flying, that's something that you're in alignment with, that you're being real, raw, and authentic in doing. That's a real indicator. And similarly, if time isn't moving and it's going by super slow, it's a great time to analyze where your emotional vibration and frequency is at and really explore some of those lower emotions in order to, again, do the shadow work and transmute them into something higher, something better, something more empowering, which of course will make time go a little bit faster. But regardless of whether you're having a good time or you're having a bad time or you're feeling good or you're not feeling good, you will not be able to stop yawning. Okay, so the yawning is an attempt to get this realignment, this recalibration online. Now, yawning, think about it, breath work, right? Yawning is almost like an absence of breath work. It's an automated type of reaction for us to try to take the satisfying deep breath that we're looking to take so that will stop the yawn train. So this is kind of indicating to us that our breath, our soul, our spirit is being sewn into our physical body and to our astral body. Again, this is what the recalibration, the realignment is all about, but that the timing is still off. Again, I think it was last week in the disaster of a Ascension forecast that I try to put out there. We talked about how, when you're fine tuning or retuning a car and the spark plugs are all off on timing, that you're not going to get that spark in order to engage the ignition to flip over the engine in order to get it going. And so you have to be tweaking those particular parts in order to make sure that everything is in alignment so that everything is functioning in unison with one another. And this is exactly what we're going through right now. It's hard to catch our breath. It is, again, that yawn is an attempt to bring as much mana, prana, chi, whatever you want to call it, energy into that lung space. Again, heart activations, right? We want to expand the lungs. See if we can find that satisfying breath work, which essentially, nope, ain't happening this week. Thus, why we're going to be yawning, whether we're tired or not, whether we're excited or we're sad. There's just this, I'm going to say, yawn activation in order for us to bring that breath work in an attempt to get all of our systems in alignment. But that yawning could definitely indicate that we're still exhausted. I mean, it's exhausting to bring in this new version of self. It's exhausting to give birth. It's exhausting to be born. It's exhausting to adjust to the new frequencies, the new vibrations, the new circumstances. It is just exhausting. Many of us having some wild changes in our sleep state, in our dream state, more specifically. I think that there is a lot of ancient wisdom knowledge that gets dropped in our mental plane via the astral realm when we're in Sag season. And you are definitely going to be noticing different content in your dream state, but all of it is very mystical, very prophetic, very cryptic, and has definitely a different tone, a different mood, a different attitude to it, especially compared to Scorpio season where we were kind of on the darker side of life. But that sleep state, we are gaining a little bit more and more actual sleep time, which I think I've increased. I think I'm at about 3.5, maybe 4 hours now before I wake up, and for a little visit in the nighttime, which is great. I'm going to take that. But yeah, we are going to continuously see these alterations take place in our sleep state, in our dream state, because of course the level of awareness, the level of frequency, the level of consciousness in the collective is also changing. And we are all going through this new, I'm going to say, truth experience, this new evolution of self, this new change in environment and circumstance. And that has a major impact on the content that gets thrown at us when, of course, we are in a sleep state and our subconscious needs us to kind of work some things out that we weren't aware of that needed to be worked out while we were awake. So other than that, oh yes, Charlie horses and leg tremors. That's, I think, the last thing that I want to talk about here. Now, Sag season in particular, Sag rules over the thighs. And we know that, especially coming into Sag season, now that Mars especially is in Sag energy, that we want to take action. We want to make moves. We want to see some progress. We really want to see things happen here. So there's a lot of restlessness, a lot of pent up energy and aggression in our physical bodies that we haven't been able to actually act out as of yet. But even more than that, we know that fear gets trapped in our knees and in our ankles and our lower extremities, right? Because we literally rely on our feet to keep us upright. We need to feel stable in how it is that we're currently positioned in life, let alone to start making moves and taking steps moving forward in a new territory that we haven't explored yet. There's a lot of anticipation and anxiety because of the forward movement, the new paths, new directions that we know that we actually have to move into and explore. And so just with the overlapping seasons and cycles that we're in, it does make sense that we're going to be having, bouts of sciatica, or we're going to be having Charlie horses, especially in our sleep, or there's going to be rigidity. There's going to be little injuries. Maybe we're rolling our ankles. Maybe we're stubbing our toes. Maybe, we're just not feeling safe and secure and stable standing on our feet. Those are all natural reflections of the energetic and emotional state that we're currently in, knowing that we have to move on, we have to move forward. But those Charlie horses, especially if they happen while you're sleeping, they are no joke. It is very painful, and just take that as a good indicator that the energy blockages in those particular areas of your body, that they're trying to declog themselves, if you will, that we're trying to boss up, we're trying to make an effort to move forward. There may be some hesitation in our thoughts and our emotions, even in our actions, preventing us from taking the kinds of actions and making the kind of moves that we want to make. And this is why the energy gets all cluster effed in our body and creates the unpleasant and very uncomfortable sensations, such as tremors, sciatica, and Charlie horses. So guys, just taking a look at my list, I think that's all that I wanted to cover. I want to thank you guys so much for sitting here with me, for being in the chat, for sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas, your experiences with all of us here in this community. I want to thank you for showing up for yourself. I want to thank you for showing up for me. But really, I just want to thank you for crossing my path, for showing me love, for showing me support, and mostly for doing all of the work within yourself. Again, just a reminder that if you are very unhappy with the state of the world and you want to make a positive change, the best thing that you can do is work on yourself. You have to create this little, I'm going to say, slice of paradise, this happy place within you, in order for that to reverberate and really affect the consciousness of the collective at this point. So just think of throwing a rock in a pond and watching that ripple effect go all the way out. That is you. You are the pebble, you are the stone. Everything that you believe in, everything that you feel within you, everything that you think has a reverberatory effect on the people, on the world around you. So when we orient to happiness, to joy, to authenticity, then that is the change not only that we are making within ourselves and our own world, but that is the change that we will be seeing in the greater, grander collective. So thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you nothing but love. We'll talk to you soon.